Hi y'all, it is your favorite nerdy girl here, Nerdy Girl Reviews, and we're back with another recap. And before we start, Happy New Year! We are in 2022. Today is officially January 1st, 2022. And I just thought I'd showcase the New Year's Eve nails. This is why I love faux nails, okay? Comparison to all the other faux nails, press-on nails that I've been wearing. Faux nails, 5 and below. Now, if you would like to see and hear the full commentary, keep me locked here on YouTube. If you are watching this on Instagram, click the link in bio. If you're watching this on IG Stories, click the link. It'll link you back to my YouTube. And if you'd like to see more of my recaps, you can catch me on sofritoforyoursoul.com. Stay tuned for And Just Like That, currently streaming on Hbomax. They do. Now, if the music sounds familiar, now this is what I've always loved about Sex and the City. If you're a true fan and you remember, they would always, I don't know if it's the showrunners or just the actors, perhaps they've come across really great music and then they are smart in embedding it into the episode. So this was of the most recent episode. I believe it is episode 5, Tragically Hip. And it's in the final scene with Carrie. We'll go through what happens with Carrie, but she exits with these beautiful pumps. That's what I'm wearing. I'm showing off my pumps for New Year's, honey. They're not Louis Vuittons, but they still look fab. And they're Christian Siriano, which I love. And yes, I've matched them with these really beautiful dangly earrings. And the song that's playing is by a band called Jungle. And the song is titled Keep Moving. They were always fresh like that. I love them for I can't tell you how many songs that they would cherry pick for each episode during its heyday. And I would desperately search. It wasn't as easy as it is now when it comes to like Google search, but before you had to like really get the lyrics down so you can more or less know. And I think HBO was of service after a while. They started noticing that people wanted to download these songs, so they would list them. Nonetheless, let's move on. We continue. After my review, I did only the first 2 episodes, but we are in episode 5. So let's bypass When in Rome, which is episode 3. Carrie learns of a surprising development involving Big's ex. So, spoiler alert, Carrie is visiting her lawyer, reviewing Big's will, and seeing where money is going to be basically spread around, who's going to get what cut, and what charities. And little does she know that her husband have been keeping it on the low, that, and mind you, this is his own will testament, but still nonetheless it was a little shady on him to not inform Carrie that he had left his former ex-wife, Natasha, that was the model babe he married. That really hurt Carrie when that happened, because she had been always pining over him and thought that they would end up together. He marries this much younger woman, Natasha, and I guess he felt bad because, you know, then they had Carrie and Big had an extramarital affair and all this nonsense, that they ultimately divorced, that he was free, and it was just a tug of war, but they finally got together. But I guess he felt so guilty about how things ended that he left her in his testament $1 million. And she just can't, it doesn't sit well with her, and all the insecurities kind of rush back. And I can see that happening, because it's like, well, why would my husband not tell me that? So she's in hot pursuit of her. She's gone on from her modeling career to advertisement, I believe, and she has some really posh, beautiful office down in Soho. But she does not want to see Carrie, period. So she goes out of her way to purposely tell her colleagues or her assistants that she's not available, she's out of the country, and Carrie spots her standing right in front of her window. Here's Miranda and Charlotte trying to be the best enablers, but that's what they ultimately are here. They're trying to be her support team, but they're like, they should have just been like, Carrie, you gotta let it go. And so she ends up walking aimlessly for blocks and somehow still manages to run into Natasha, spills hot coffee on herself, and then realizes Natasha's not so messed up. And in fact, she didn't even want the money. She wants to just stay clear of all messiness. But in a way, it made it clear that nothing had really happened and they weren't having some extramarital affair behind now Carrie's back. And that he ultimately loved Carrie, but he felt genuinely bad about how things ended with Natasha. And we're not even going to get into all the controversy that came after. I'll let other YouTubers, drama YouTubers, get into that. Let me have a little sip of my champagne. Now, Charlotte is going through her own crisis in a way because her daughter is kind of going through something in terms of her adolescence. She doesn't know if necessarily she identifies as female, non-binary, gender fluid, but she's warned her mother that she just doesn't necessarily always feel like a little girl, so she doesn't really appreciate when her mother calls her a little girl. You'll always be my little girl. She didn't like that. So she's going through a transitional phase. And, you know, the parents being the traditional fuddy-duddies that they don't know how to relate. So there's that. Finally, it's going better for Miranda as she's transitioning from corporate law to more of like a civil rights or lawyer. And she's going back for, I think, her master's degree. And she's getting along better with her professor. I think they're closer in age though, so in comparison to the rest of class, almost to the point where the professor just eventually loosens up and is able to kind of even go to dinner with Miranda, and then she confesses her own fertility issues. So you can see some ice breaking there, and Miranda perhaps confessing that she's going through some kind of marital crisis where she doesn't necessarily believe that she's super happy. And there's still instances that she could be alcoholic, but nothing is confirmed. Now, I don't know if it was this episode or the following episode, which would be episode 4, Some of My Friends. I think it's 4, where now Carrie has moved back into the neighborhood, so she can't sleep. No, she can't. Her spirit doesn't allow her to rest easy in the beautiful posh loft apartment that she had with Big. So she moves back into her, which not for nothing, she had an incredible brownstone. So even if she was renting a room or a floor or whatever, it was still really pretty, you know. And she moves back into her spot, visits the local deli for a cup of coffee, and we finally get to learn Carrie's full name, which is Caroline. I didn't know it was Caroline. For some reason, we just all assumed it was just Carrie. So we see her kind of fall back into her groove. And I forgot to mention last episode, she did hire a real estate broker that is helping her sell the property. Now, I don't know if necessarily she wants it so she can move into some other place, and then maybe she'll still keep this apartment that made her so famous. But she wants to move on with her life. And we have an introduction of a new character. She's a real estate broker named Seema Patel. I've seen her in other films and series work. She's a really great actress. And we get a sense of that she could be maybe filling in for Samantha's character. She's older, but very sophisticated and single. And so she admits, again, they have like these candid moments where she admits that it's hard and that people judge her for it. But it's not necessarily something that she needs or approves when people are trying to pass judgment on the fact that she's still not wed and that she doesn't have children. So episode 4, some of my friends looking to move forward, Carrie meets with self-made real estate broker Seema Patel. Meanwhile, Charlotte plans a high-stakes dinner party with LTW, and Miranda and Naya connect over the frank realities of motherhood. And I guess this is the episode, yes, where she and her professor have that candid moment. Um, I will say that yes, this is where Charlotte is uncomfortable in the sense that she has a really great friend that is African American, but then quickly realizes that she doesn't have many other um, people of color in terms of her friends or people that they've had over for dinner parties. And now here's a dinner party that she wanted to host, and she couldn't find another couple that was African American, and she felt like they would be the only ones. Like that in itself, it did feel a little cringy because, I mean, yeah, in the city of New York, you really don't have options to other people of color, not even your husband who's a lawyer. So that was a little and she ends up canceling it and goes to her friend's um, dinner party instead, and then realizes that they're the only white couple, and that even though they did their P's and Q's and read up on all of black culture as much as they could, they really did stick out like two sore thumbs. But to credit the showrunner and to Charlotte's character, even though she seems a bit of a ditz, and like a fish out of water, when they start talking about art and her having the history that she has as an art dealer when she used to work in galleries, she was able to recognize all the artwork that had been collected there that now her friend